I was thinking about how it can work, because I think that it's pretty easy right now to be negative. Because yesterday, going back and watching that press conference where Jerry spoke to the media with Stephen Jones, and he was out there with Brian Schottenheimer. Dak Prescott was there. Some players were there. And it's becoming pretty clear to me that this move is more about Dak Prescott than initially, I think, at least I was able to kind of diagnose, like, okay, like this is about Dak because he's worked with this coordinator before and he obviously has a relationship with him. But now I'm thinking like this is so much about Dak Prescott, and that makes it actually not terrible, I guess. Like, if, again, I'm trying to stay positive, and I know not terrible is what a Cowboys fan wants to hear. Cowboys fans don't want to hear Jerry Jones talk about, hey, if you only knew, I would write, how big the check would be that I would write for the Cowboys to win another Super Bowl. Yeah, okay, that's great. But like, that's not what it takes to win. That's not what you do. You have to be efficient from a personnel standpoint, on the field and off the field. And yesterday, Jerry made very clear that like nothing was going to change in the hierarchy for the Dallas Cowboys. Nothing is going to change as far as how the organization is run. We're talking about obviously the hiring of coaches, the signing, re-signing of players, the draft. So all this is going to stay the same. So this is where it comes down to, and I'll get back into the Dak Prescott thing in a second and how that could be positive. But this is where, as a fan, I talk about it, right? I'm sober. I go to 12-step meetings. There's traditions, but you're supposed to like keep that close to the vest. It is anonymous, but I've shared my journey before. So I was at a meeting yesterday, and a great meeting, and this woman who I love and respect was talking about her sister, and her sister's going through something really tough in a relationship with her husband. And so this woman, Anna, who I love, who is like a spiritual giant, right? Like she's been around, been sober forever. She's super like even keeled through the program. And so she's become like a lighthouse for people that have problems. So her sister gets in touch with her and is like, my husband's driving me crazy. And this thing is, rinse, repeat, right? So her sister's telling her how crazy her husband is. And, this is, the umpteenth time we've had this conversation. And Anna was like, look, you got to make a decision. Either you're in or you're out. But if you're in, you have to take a different mindset. And there's an acceptance, right, that you have to take. If you're going to be with this person, like, you're not going to change him, right? Like, this is who he is. And there's a radical acceptance that comes if you stay in a relationship like that can actually make the relationship better, in a sense where you stop focusing on the other person, you start focusing on your response to that person. All this can lead to a somewhat serene existence. Again, great acceptance, but also you have the opportunity to leave, which is like very much on the table and very much something that you are entitled to do, right? Walk away, which is not easy at all. It's not easy to walk away from a relationship or what might be a family. And on a lesser version, but maybe the same, it certainly is not easy to walk away from an organization that you have loved and rooted for some people 50 years, right? But if you're going to stay in, you might as well start looking for the positives and start accepting stuff, all right? So here's my positive for Cowboys fans, because I imagine that you're staying in. So yesterday, Ed Werder was at the press conference, obviously, with our own Matt Mosley. They put up a great Doomsday podcast that you folks should listen to. It's super insightful. I put it on last night while I was like going to bed. Sometimes I'll listen to a podcast while I'm going to bed. And it was so compelling that it actually kept me up and got my mind racing about the Dallas Cowboys, which at some point then I get up to go to the bathroom and look in the mirror. And I'm like, what? Why am I thinking about the Cowboys at 12:30 a.m.? And then into even later hours. So the Cowboys are keeping me up too, and I'm not even a fan. But I found what Ed Werder said about Dak Prescott to be extremely compelling and insightful. And I was surprised it didn't get more traction, but I would imagine if more people listen to the Doomsday podcast, which the numbers are really good, but somebody could hear this and run with it and kind of aggregate it. Dak Prescott was sitting right behind Ed Werder, among other players for the Dallas Cowboys. And Werder said that, Schottenheimer would talk about the plan or about what the Cowboys are going to do going forward with this new approach, right? Obviously, a new head coach who has a great relationship with the quarterback. Again, a relationship that was obviously better than I understood. And so Dak is behind Werder, and as Schottenheimer is talking, Dak is giving like affirmations, maybe kind of under his breath, like, yep, yes, sir. Yep, so that is, to me, very, very reflective of just how important this decision is for Dak Prescott and for the Cowboys. Now, here's another thing too, and Jerry addressed this, right? This was, again, another little nugget you can find in the Doomsday Pod. Like Jerry said, people have talked about me operating outside of my comfort